Hey you guys, thank you for joining in on my new YouTube revamp. This is something different that I'm doing. It is still all the info with AKA, but it's something a little extra. This is going to be all the info with AKA Let's Get Comfortable talk show. As you can see, these are my first guests. I'm so happy. And this is Shane and this is Katie. And we are going to be talking about mental health. It was something that I was going through for the past 2-3 weeks, and it was a really big thing for me. So I wanted that to be my very first video, and I'm so happy that you guys are here. So let's get started. This is all the info with AKA Let's Get Comfortable talk show. Okay guys, so I hope you guys are excited. We're about to go really deep for my very first episode of my talk show. As I said before, I kind of was having my own little mental health day. I get into a really bad depression. It's crazy because I never actually went to a doctor for it. It was just kind of something where it's like for me it's more of when I see people having their own success, I'm always happy for people. Like, never get me wrong. Like, I'm always like, I will sit there and help push you for your success. But then it's like when it's working well for others, I feel like, okay, but it's not working well for me. You know what I mean? So It's like everybody else, like we'll start so for example, I actually know someone, we actually moved out here at the same time, and she's doing acting. And she has an ad commercial going on. She is in a show. She just posted her photos that she's in a show stuff. She's doing a whole set and everything like that. And I'm like so happy for her. And I'm like, girl, like we over here working hard for stuff. But I'm like, it's so, suckish because it's like sometimes how I see things, sometimes actors, they're kind of able to get into things a little bit easier in a sense because there's more websites for them to get into stuff as opposed to screenwriters. There's not much screenwriting websites as there are for actors to do, different background acting or anything like that. So for screenwriters, it's a little bit harder. They have contests, but not everybody gets in. And there's even people who said that they sold their show to Netflix or Hulu or even HBO that never got, I guess, awarded or even won all these contests. And it's like, so sometimes the contest isn't really the best option for screenwriters. So sometimes it kind of does suck. So it's like when I see people like her and stuff that's succeeding, and then I see other people where I graduated with in 2012 from high school, went off to college and are now in their careers. I'm like, oh my goodness, like what's going on, And my mom, she's always like, stop comparing yourself. But I feel like everyone does it. Everyone does it to that type of extent. I was, as you guys know, I was actually in a car accident 2016. This is, I think, your first time hearing it, you guys. But you guys who've been watching and who's friends and who's been following, I was in a car accident. So I was away at school and I was in a car accident 2016. So it really halted a lot of stuff. I, fractured my back. I fractured my pelvic area. So it halted stuff. And I think that just put me into like even a greater depression. And at that time I did seek therapy. But because of stuff like that, it's just always like certain things I can't do. You know what I mean? I can try to do them and it probably will get done, but it's just I prefer not to fracture anything else. I always sit there and do like I almost died twice in my life. I'm not trying to die a third, okay? Like, it was once when I was a baby and once in 2016. They always say third time's the charm. I'm not trying to do a third one. So, for me, that's that depression that kind of hits me where it's like I'm in that funk and it's like, I don't want to text people and I'm just kind of sitting there and I'm like, I have to get myself out of it. Especially since I would like to go to therapy for it, and it's such a taboo topic where it's like therapy, like, oh, who does therapy? But especially for like black people, it's just like, oh, well, see, we always knew you were crazy. We always knew you were crazy and stuff. That's why you're going to therapy. And it's like, exactly. It's like, that's not fair.
And you have to find the right therapist. I can relate to a lot of what you're saying, even with the accident and all that. I've been through a lot since I got to LA.
How long ago did you come?
2016.
Oh, okay. When I had my ex.
I had one myself. and in a healing process also. And that's what I'm hearing from you and so many people that are out there. We're all in different healing processes, and with faith, that's the only way you can make it through, you know. And a lot of times, being in the music business, I see that, you know, a lot of the doors have been closed and the venues and things that we took for granted. But a lot of that was good, because now the messages in the movies and in the music that's really being taken seriously are the messages we need. And it's all about faith and helping one another, and you're in the field of health and helping others too. And we're all doing our part in whatever we're doing. But I also know when you touched on the part about you're helping this one, you're helping that one, then all of a sudden you're so drained, and then you see them like moving forward, and you feel like you're here. But no, I feel God's using you in a different way. You don't have to do those other things with your talent God gave you. He needs you right here just to speak to others and do what you're doing, even like right now.
Yes.
And that's going to affect a greater audience, not the people that are the Netflix followers. I mean, we love them and all, but you're dealing with kids right now also who wouldn't be watching that. So those areas have to be tapped into. And with discernment, God will place you in the places you need to be, and He will heal you to do that job.
Yeah. And that's what I'm like, you know, I always sit there and I'm like, you know, that's awesome when that kind of gets in. That's what kind of got me out of my funk too, where it was just like, Angel, you know, God's not going to put too much on you. You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be a reason. Like, that's my number one thing of my belief more than anything else. There's a reason for everything. There always is. So I'm always like, it's okay. Like, it's going to happen when it's your time to happen. Maybe, you know, right now, their time and stuff, and then when it's my time, maybe they're already blown up, you know? And then, but maybe there's a reason why for me right now it's not my time. And I've always
You're getting your rewards in heaven, like He said. That's what I believe.
Oh,
and
nice.
God hopes that you understand.
Yes.
Because who else can He get through to? If you have that extra ability to step out of ego altogether, that's the hardest thing. We're in Hollywood, let's face it.
It's hard over here.
It's everybody sharing the best parts of their life and just hiding, pretending that they don't deal with very human stuff.
Yeah,
If anybody went through a car accident, they will have a season where they need to heal physically and mentally, because I had a car accident not in the same year but a while back, and it was I was making
we are accident prone over here.
I was making, this is maybe a year after I got my license, I was making a left turn, and I didn't judge the time appropriately, and so to this day I'm still wanting to use the arrows. I'm always wanting to go to the lights with the arrows, because I feel like that's a little extra protection. And that's the part that people don't really see. But when I go to someplace new, I always check out how easy it is to get there. Check out the steps on the Google Maps. If the picture shows that there's an arrow for me to turn, I will celebrate. If it doesn't, I'm gonna need to have a simpler route, and I'll go through the routes. That's an invisible part of the aftermath of accidents that isn't really talked about.
I love this because I would like to take it to the next level. Right now, it's so important for us to go by the signs that God gives us. And we have to pay attention.
I mean,
to those signs He gives us, and be a little more cautious with life and your life, because this is a spiritual and psychological war going on, and we have to pay attention to where we're guided.
And accepting that if it's impossible to make that turn, great, keep going. There'll be another opportunity that's a little safer.
Exactly.
You might get there. You might get there a little bit later.
Right. Exactly.
You might get there a little bit later than if you had taken the most direct route. But that's where you just plan.
But don't
you just plan accordingly and have an extra half hour in the time you need to get there.
Exactly.
And that way you're not white knuckling it, which contributes to a lot of anxiety with driving in general. Is people fail to plan and then they get into accidents. because they're making impulsive decisions.
Exactly. And let's not do that, you know.
Right.
No accidents over here. We're all accident prone over here.
This isn't necessarily about accident, but yeah.
It's true. People
But
have
you
so
know,
much on their
mentally,
mind.
oh yeah, and that's the thing too. You know, it's like
Yeah.
for me, I was a passenger in my accident, so you know that even made it a bit worse. But overall, I'm getting through it. Something that I still think about. Like sometimes I'll have like nightmares about it and everything like that. And that's what I was going through for the past like 2 weeks and everything. I kind of got out of my funk. You know, I was talking to God. I'm not very. I'm more spiritual. I'm not. I'm not Catholic. I'm not Christian. I'm more spiritual. With me and God, we good. You know, I was born on your day, dude. We are right. We got this power where we okay. We have our own language, right? So we have that going on. But I'm thankful that I'm doing way better. I'm okay now.
Yeah.
It's stuff where it's gonna always be something where it's like, okay, damn, you know what I mean? It's gonna come up, especially
I
at the
thought I was
weirdest
past
times.
this. This happened
Yeah, exactly.
this many
Like
years ago.
wow, but it's something like that I don't think will ever leave me, especially since I still feel the after effects of everything that happened.
And
But,
you can draw upon those big feelings and those
Yeah.
memories for people that are 1 or 2 weeks out of their experience.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
you can give
Guide
them
them
some.
through it.
You can guide them through it. How you were saying that everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
That I truly believe that if we don't figure out the meaning of what we went through in the next week, we will by the next 5 to 8 years. And sometimes it's just about relating to themes of what other people go through. It's
like
not
that.
about relating to details. It's not saying we're going to fix everything. It's not saying that everything's going to be perfect, because that's never the case.
Yeah.
But just being with somebody and keeping them company while they go through their emotions is really, really powerful.
Oh, for sure.
I think
Yeah.
physical injuries are easier to succumb because you can see it, you can x-ray it, you can use therapy to work it to health.
Yeah.
But mentally and emotionally, they're the saddest situations. You know, you have to almost reach in to yourself, your core, or reach into others.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing, because those suppressed feelings can turn into anger or fear, and then go into depression. And
Exactly.
you need help with that. All people need help with that right now.
Yeah.
I think everybody is experiencing PTSD if they're sane, because this is not something to joke about what we're going through, and it's
Right.
nothing
Yeah.
we were ready for or were taught.
Yeah.
You might have heard the Bible stories, this is going to happen, but you don't really picture like one morning, like March 9th, 2019, you wake up and the whole world stopped, and you keep saying, this can't be happening.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are still in that mode of this can't be happening, while a lot of us are trying to deal with it, not run from it or escape it or be angry with it, and just deal with it and say, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to be today? Who am I supposed to be meeting up? And please bring all the good people that are helping others, that are in the same mode of operation. You want to attract them so we can unite together and affect positively a bigger audience and a bigger group of people to help them.
Oh
'Cause
yeah, for sure.
Right.
we're first humanitarians.
Yeah.
That's nice. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You are. If you think about it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
God
Yeah.
just gives you those gifts to get you through life.
Yeah.
It's to help you survive in your life. I know with piano, a lot of times I escaped in my little room playing piano and
nice.
tuning out the world.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then I started writing songs. Then I had to learn about that world. It's quite
She's
different.
now a songwriter and a singer, you guys. Hello.
Yeah, it's quite different. And then you have the mandate of the rules, what you shouldn't do.
Yeah, those are, and like, how about, it's rules are meant to be broken. Not every rule, but some rules are just meant to be broken. Not everything needs to be.
You want to keep your talent, you just do the right thing with it.
Yes,
As long as there's no safety or health risks, is there so much pressure to try to fit everybody into a mold? Why can't people just enjoy
Ego.
their creativity?
Yeah.
But
That's what I actually want to get into with yours too, because yours is about the workplace mental health.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so much of that, and it's crazy because not every job has that type of where it's like, oh, you need a mental health day. Yeah, we have that.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that PTO for mental.
It's so much easier
You
to
need it
just
every
say.
day. A mental health day.
No, but
half of these jobs.
I mean, it really is. It's so much easier to say I have a head cold or I have a stomach bug or I got food poisoning than my depression's a little out of control. I just need some time. It's so much easier. And I think now, the past 2 years, it's changed workplace culture greatly.
Yeah.
Because now people are reprioritizing what they want from work, understanding what little box work is supposed to go into, instead of what little box the rest of their life goes into. And it's important to give space because now we're in the middle of one of the greatest periods of resignation.
Yeah.
And why? Because people are treated disposably. People are treated. People aren't valuable in the eyes of. I mean, no, but honestly, people get valued less than profit does, and how do we keep workers in the workplace invest in their mental health and see it as suicide prevention, see it as workplace violence prevention, see it as domestic violence prevention, see it as all of those things, and also see it as overdose prevention.
Yes,
and
that's a huge thing, especially out here in LA.
Yeah, and it can be something as simple as actually being attentive, actually following through on what you say you're going to do.
Yes.
And letting people know that they matter. We have no idea what anybody's going home to, but we can control how we treat them in the 15 to 20 minutes that we got.
Exactly.
And that could be very impactful.
I hope that all of the healthcare workers hear this, what you're saying, and that would refocus them to the most important thing, just that simple thing to do, to understand they all have lives behind being a patient in that bed.
Yeah, and understanding that healthcare workers are humans as well.
Exactly.
And that it's okay for them to reach out for help. That's I am currently a entrepreneur and consultant, and that's what my vision is to help women in healthcare understand that they are worth the care and the love that they dish out to people, and that their mental health is important. And it's important to catch things super early on rather than have it be a giant legal battle, rather than have it be marriages falling apart, kids getting separated from families. It's so much easier to just do prevention, do peer support. Way, way simpler.
Well, let me ask this, what do you think these jobs can do? Because there's always some jobs where they do have certain things in place where you could call certain hotlines, or something's going on, where you could sit there and have those therapy on the sites. But what else do you think could be done?
I think honestly, NAMI. I'm not affiliated with NAMI at all, but I've heard that NAMI is really good for peer support groups.
What is NAMI?
NAMI is National Alliance on Mental Illness.
Oh, wow, okay.
And that's a nonprofit that has a lot of peer support, has a lot of mental health first aid training.
Are healthcare workers afraid of stigma with that, though?
Some of them are, and it's...
Then that has to be addressed.
Yes, but that is addressed from the top.
Okay.
It needs to be conversations with administrators.
Thing.
It needs to be conversations with administrators that say, "Hey, this is actually normal. We understand that people are going through a lot, and that this is a difficult season for everybody. And so, in light of that, we have some peer support groups that we can refer you to, or even have a peer support group." Depending on how big the office building is, some of the medical office buildings are huge, so it wouldn't be that that much of a stretch, really, for them to rent
Maybe
out
you
one
could-
room.
Maybe you can help start a group that helps others in all different industries, not
Yeah.
just the health department, because they all
I mean,
need that.
They do.
but that's just my specialty right now.
Okay.
Is that's what I'm going for. I'm creating a curriculum
Good.
so that
okay,
like
okay.
the women in healthcare that are in recovery, especially, are really dealing with role conflict and are really dealing with being a closeted provider in a sea of patients when they go to a traditional support group. So that is why
I never knew
that's why I'm investing a lot of my energy and creativity into that, is because right now that is what's on my heart.
What's calling you?
Yeah.
What's our calling?
That's
and
amazing.
yeah.
Aw.
And so I'm finishing off a PsyD in psychology, and I'm going into my doctoral project pretty soon. But right now I'm just kind of in the process of crossing all the T's and dotting the I's and getting my business set up.
That's amazing.
That's admirable. Oh my
Congratulations.
gosh.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Tell them your
Thank
name
you.
again.
Yes.
My name is Katie Green. Sorry.
She's very emotional.
Anyways,
Yeah.
I've been trying not to cry for the past 10 minutes. So.
I know. I'm like looking at your eyes.
Yeah.
No, it's
but
good.
anyway,
That's okay.
I really care about people, and people matter a lot to me.
Yeah.
And it matters to me that people feel heard, and that they feel seen, and that they feel loved. And whatever it takes to get that is what I'm gonna do.
I love that. You will make me cry.
So who do you go to when you hold all that in?
I have a lot of crying periods myself,
Okay.
because I'm an
That's
empath.
healthy.
Because I'm an empath, but I also go to my own counseling.
Yeah.
So the thing of it is that counseling is not just for emergencies. Counseling can be a great preventative thing as well. And honestly, it's one of the best decisions that I've made. It is protecting my relationship, it is protecting my career, and it is protecting my peace. Everything that I do career-wise is based solely on the fact that I either want to be the friend or the adult that I knew that I needed when I was younger.
That's awesome.
So that is the driving force for all of this.
And then you said you wanted to discuss as well about when you love too much. And when I heard that, I was like, that's something that happens all the time. Like, everybody loves too much. And I think in the sense of I think when you equally love each other enough in a healthy way, that's great. You know, I even heard people where there was some people that said they were told not to love that person too much. You know, whereas in like, don't ever sit there and fall in love too much or love the person more than they love you, because you don't want it to ever be where it's like, I love you so much, where like if they, you divorce, you break up, whatever the case is, never be where you like, well, I loved you so much where I done gave up my life for you. I had kids, I stood at home, I ain't have nothing, and now we're divorced and stuff where it's like, well, I have everything, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need you, so I don't love you that much. I'm gonna go. But now you're like, the woman is sitting here going, I loved you a lot. I loved you enough that it loved us both. And then you gave up everything, and your other person didn't do anything in return.
And that's what happens.
Yeah.
And then these people, male, female, whoever, then they get mad at the other person. But you became the mom. You became the enabler, and you didn't realize. We were never taught that you can love too much. We never taught when it's time to walk away. It's all.
Right.
I was taught turn the other cheek. Well, let me tell you how many times I turned the other cheek and got beat down from that.
Right.
And that's not right.
But you can't love somebody more than they love themselves. They have, and any working relationship in business or anything, it's like even this.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a partnership. It's not give and take, it's give and give, and then you lift each other up, and we all have a voice, and we all have different aspects in life that the way we see things and our experiences and our training are all different. But that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It means that there's room enough for everybody to grow if we would just let them.
And I love how you said it's a give and give, not a give and take type of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so many times you do have that where it's like give and take. It's like
Yeah,
I'm
it's like
giving,
this,
and
like
then, and then, you know what I mean?
And then
I feel
yank it.
yeah, exactly. And I feel
Mine.
like it should equally, you know, it's you
We'll just
always
sit here
heard.
and smile and all enjoy the same thing.
I've always heard when I was in like high school and middle school that it was always have like make sure like when you're with somebody and stuff like that you give your all to the person, which is correct, right? But they was
Yeah.
always but it was always
Give your
said
all.
in the sense of always make sure you find your other half. So always have, so it basically was two halves could make a whole. It's like, no, boo, your
No.
whole should make a whole. How about that?
Two holes,
Exactly.
bringing out the best in each other and doing life together.
Exactly.
Make
Like, you know,
sure.
like,
None of
I
this-
think people got confused. You know, people probably was like me, watch Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And
No.
at the very last episode when Sabrina realized that she really, truly, real deep in her soul still loved her ex-boyfriend, and they got together and ran up on her wedding day while she was still in her wedding gown. And he came and he was like, and then the whole thing was basically like she was trying to figure out if this man she was about to marry literally within the next 5 minutes was her soulmate. So she went on a little a witch hunt.
Took all of 5 minutes to figure that out.
On the witch hunt, and she found like her soul thing, and she was like, okay, the other half, and then she was like, okay, this is her man that she's about to marry the next 4 minutes. She got 4 minutes down, and
Oh
she
my
went to try to
gosh.
fit the hearts, and it wouldn't fit. And then that's when her
and then
ex-boyfriend came, and he was like, this dropped on my lap because he found they broke up because he found out she's a witch, and that's how they had broke up.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
he
you
was
learn
like,
about witchcraft and
There
how
you
it doesn't
go.
work.
I mean,
and he,
I
and
just
the
wanted
very
a
last-
tutorial. I didn't mean your whole existence being a witch.
But there's a lot of witches out there
and he
right
didn't
now. Yep.
even know, and that's how like that whole thing ends, where
Yeah.
he has that whole the other half of the heart, and he's like, this just fell down into my lap, and something told me you were the only person that it would mean something to. So I drove over here on his motorcycle, and he was like, you wouldn't happen to know what it is or what it means or what it's for, right? And
No.
and
Nor do I really
and
care.
then she was like, she didn't say that. But
I would.
And then she just kind of said, like, I think I found what I was looking for. And she ran towards him. She connected her half of the heart to his half, and it was because they were soulmates. And it ended up working, and then they literally went
Okay.
off on his bike.
Next
and I
on
think that
Hallmark
was the
Channel
whole
30.
thing. No, but I mean, you know, but that's what I'm saying. Like at that age, it's cute, and it's still a beautiful thing with those
Right.
two. But I think that was always the whole thing of, oh, well, his half fit her half, so obviously you wasn't whole, right? So two halves of the heart makes the whole complete heart, because if your one half is broken, the other, and I think that was always kind of the thing when you're young, where it's like, well, it worked for them, so obviously, and it's like, no, that's a TV
It's
show.
an invincibility
You know what I mean?
complex too.
Exactly. Yes.
Teenagers and kids, never gonna happen to me. They can see all these crises going around. This is never gonna happen to me. You're not gonna do this. I'm not gonna experience that. I don't need to know any of this. I am just gonna be sticking with fictional characters for my role models now.
And I'm like, this is not Cinderella, and he was not
spells and all
Sabrina.
this stuff. Yeah.
I mean,
And that's where that whole thing, they're just coming back to you, and what you were saying, like, I think that's where that whole thing of where it's like, oh, well, two halves make a whole, because you see stuff like that where it's like, well, you know, after 6 more seasons, she realized that her true love was always the first boyfriend she had in season 1. Right. And they always kind of have that ending, but you always see things like that where it's like, you know, you complete me, you make me whole and stuff, and it's like, boo, go make your own stuff whole. Like, you know what I mean? Go get some whole milk if you need it, and go do something with that. Like, why should I shouldn't make you whole. It's cool to sit there and say I make you complete and stuff, but it shouldn't be I make you whole. Why do I make you whole? You're not whole within yourself.
I would rather somebody say that they are made better by a person.
Yes.
Instead of
say
being
it again
whole.
to the
You learn
camera.
from each
I
other.
would rather somebody say that they are made better by a person than whole by a person, because, I mean, think of it this way. What if the half of hearts have like 60 pieces in them each? And you're not supposed to rely on another one person.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a big issue that people are dealing with, like mental health or addiction. If you are the only person that your partner goes to or your friend goes to for support, that is not healthy.
Right.
They need to be with their treatment. They need to be having
themselves.
conversations. They need to be having conversations with their family, with their doctors, with the psychiatrist, if that's what they
with
go
other
for.
people, too.
But if you are the only support that a person has, that is never going to be healthy.
And it's never
that
going
is
to work.
Yeah.
And that is
There's
what
no
I think
spells,
you're saying,
no
too.
witchcraft. You gotta get on your hands and knees and say, "Dear God, I need help."
Exactly. And I think that's
Send
what
your
you're
angels.
saying, too.
I need an
Yeah.
army. You need
What
an
if
army.
what if the person that was providing all the help and the entire embodiment of support for the one that is struggling decides to move on? They don't know how to function or exist independently.
Exactly.
Because you
Yeah.
didn't teach them anything.
God, no, yeah.
You just enable them, and like how you're saying,
Yeah.
with that enabling and stuff like that, that's not okay. And
You
there's
gave them somebody to blame for why they have problems.
exactly.
Right.
And
Now
then
you're the fault.
Right.
and you love them too much. when
You're
you
the
did
problem.
That.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing of basically what I think you're saying is you did all of that because you loved them way too much, and there's a healthy way to do everything. Basically, what all three of us was discussing,
Right.
was there's a healthy way to kind of get out of all of this, to basically kind of wrap this up, because we could talk forever, you guys.
Yeah.
This is very important topics. But just to kind of like honestly wrap it up, is just with my car accident, right? I wasn't driving, and I think that's kind of where my whole head was like, well, damn, I wasn't even driving. Like, I must have done something in my life to deserve to get into a whole accident, and it wasn't even my fault. I was just in the car, you know.
People are stupid.
And-
You didn't deserve anything.
And I'm like, and so that was my whole thing. Like, what I do? I had to go back. I was like, Angel, what you done do to this person? And I'm like, no, I'm a nice person. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Or
maybe
maybe God was stopping you from
that's what
something that you were ready to get into. Because
Yes.
that's another thing that I learned.
that's
in
what
the
I was saying to
process of
myself too.
Quiet. I'm like, give me something. Why is this happening?
I would rather take so many different things than a car accident, though.
Yeah.
There's
But that's
like a
kind of
short
But we're
list.
surviving it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is all basically, mental health survivor. That's actually what I'm gonna call this topic. Mental health surviving.
Yeah.
And overall though, mental health, as you can see, we can overall though, mental health is really an important thing. I think it's something that people don't even like to discuss at all.
Yes.
And as you can see, we can go on forever. But
Right.
we have other things to do, so we will not go on forever, but it is something that is important, and I think should be talked about for sure more often, because there's people who's obviously is going through so much where they just will keep it hidden. They won't say anything. They'll just be like, okay, I'll just deal with it on my own. I do that, and that's why I'm actually looking for a therapist right now, so if you are a therapist, hit me up. But overall, I think
Talk to her.
I'm not doing this.
I'll talk to you. I used to be a counselor too. But guess what? Counselors need help too, because we're all human.
Everybody
If you have a
Exactly.
brain, if you have a heart, and you feel, honey, there is no way you're going to deal with what's happening in this world and think that everything is just fine
Right.
and nothing's new.
exactly.
This is crap.
If you cry at commercials, you cannot convince us that you don't have feelings. You are sitting there crying at commercials.
Do you have
So
feelings,
you
little
absolutely
buddy?
do have feelings.
Everybody has feelings.
Yay!
Don't hide your feelings. Keep your feelings, because it keeps your brain healthy. You're
Talk to
connected.
someone.
Yes. So, like he said, make sure you talk to someone, and make sure you
Love
do
yourself just the way you are.
Yes, love yourself,
just the way you
please. And that is it for this episode, my very first episode of my talk show. I am so happy this was my first topic. This was amazing. And I'm so happy you guys were able to come and be here.
I'm
Thank
glad
you.
I
It was
got
so
here.
good. It was really nice. I loved it. Stay tuned for the next episode, and
All
I will
right.
catch you guys on all the info with AKA Let's Get Comfortable.
The new way to televise messages that are real.
Yes. There you go. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.